You did mention previously the optimists, the ones who say, we're in this together, we'll get through this, I'll call you, we'll check on each other. And when we prepared, you said, I'd rather be a realistic optimist than an optimist, because usually optimists die first.
Very true. And when I explain this, think back to the chart, think to the Valley of Disillusionment. But first, you have to understand what a realistic optimist is and what an optimist is. And the term realistic optimist really became vogue by Admiral Stockdale, who was the longest standing prisoner of war in American military history. He spent 8.5 years, he was a fighter pilot, got shot down at the beginning of the Vietnam War, and spent 8 years in the, quote, Hanoi Hilton, tortured almost every day. 8.5 years. He then became a politician and a businessman and very successful. And so he was being interviewed by Jim Collins, who was a business professor at Stanford University and wrote the book Good to Great. And they were interviewing Admiral Stockdale about how you could go from good to great, and how he did it, how he made it in that prisoner of war facility, came out and built such a famous career, a successful career. They're walking across the campus of Stanford, Collins, Stockdale. Collins turns to Stockdale and he goes, Admiral, how did you do it? How did you last when other men half your age and much younger than you and in better shape didn't? And Stockdale turned, grabbed Jim Collins on both shoulders, leaned into him, and he said, the optimists died first. The optimists were the ones that came into that prison and said, hey guys, don't worry, we'll be out by January. I hear the war's winding down. And January would come and go, and they'd still be in there. And then they'd say, I've heard we're going to be a prisoner exchange at Easter, and we're going to be able to get out by Easter, and they're going to exchange prisoners. And Easter would come and go, and they'd still be in there. And then as the longer it went, these guys would go over into the corner, they would shrivel up, and literally they would give up and die. Collins went in there and he said to himself, not Collins, Stockdale, and yes. He said to himself, I don't know how long I'm going to be in here, but it could be a long time. I don't know how it's going to go, but I know it's going to be tough. But whatever it takes, I'm getting out. I'm going to make it. And he did. That's how you got to be with this coronavirus, this pandemic. You can't think it's going to be over tomorrow. You can't think that everybody's going to come back. You don't know. But you've got to keep saying to yourself, I'm going to make it. Whatever it takes, I know there will be opportunity and there will be people that survive and benefit, and I'm going to be one of those. So that's the concept of a realistic optimist. And it's quite frankly, what we need to be in order to be successful, because the optimists invariably do die first.
If I may, I would like to touch on a very personal point in your life, and that has led to you opening up a mental health foundation in the name of your brother. I know brothers and sisters, siblings can be as different as blonde, brunette, whatever, and sometimes we have the same father, the same mother, and very different destinies. In your case, you fill the space with energy, with positivity, and your brother unfortunately incurred some very severe mental health and finally succumbed of this. Would you tell us that story and how you were compelled to create your foundation, Health Foundation?
Certainly, because quite frankly, that is my it's my crusade. It's my chosen cause. My brother John, my oldest brother, the oldest brother of 4 boys and a girl, was by far the most talented one of the family. But as you said, he suffered from this tragic illness called mental illness, and it followed him around like a dark cloud and affected everything he did. And in 60 years, I don't think he ever knew a full day of happiness. It's the saddest thing. And in all the years of treatment, he suffered from schizophrenia, and he was clinically diagnosed. It wasn't one of these, sometimes he's great, sometimes he's not. Does he have depression? Oh, he's having a good day. It was your hearing voices. It was gotten off this medication, becoming homeless. All those homeless people you see, that was my brother John. I many times got my brother John off the street and would take him Johns Hopkins and places like that. But the point is that in all the years of his treatment, often in some of the best hospitals in the world, never once was he put on a fully integrated program that included diet, that included exercise, that included a support group. It almost exclusively revolved around psychoanalysis and medication. Psychoanalysis, medication, medication, psychoanalysis. And the more I got into the health club, into fitness, the more I realized, of course, the benefits of fitness. That I could go on and on, but speak for hours about it. But I'm speaking to the choir. I hope everybody here understands how wellness is medicine, and we're part of the healthcare delivery system. But unfortunately, the medical profession doesn't accept that, as does most of society. So here he was, never put on a fully integrated program. And what he was given to help him ended up killing him, which was the medication. And it just wears you down, it burns you out, and it overwhelms your system. And it's like anything else. If you do things for the body instead of the body doing it for themselves, like walking, like thinking, like using strength training, your body de-evolves and you reduce your resilience instead of increasing your resilience. And he had no resilience. He did not have the ability to come back from life's challenges. And when he passed, and it was sad how he passed, I don't have the time to tell you it all, but my dad basically found him on the floor of his trailer when he went to pick him up for his doctor's appointment, and he had turned off the air conditioning in Florida because he believed that he was a sinner and that he couldn't have any of the human of the modern conveniences that he had to suffer. So he turns his air conditioner off at 110-degree heat in Florida. And there he is on the floor of his trailer park when my dad comes to pick him up to take him to his doctor's appointment. Can you imagine your dad, you seeing your son like that when you come? So at his funeral, this is the most talented, loving, brilliant guy I know. And at his funeral, the only people there were his immediate family, not even his extended family. It was as if his life never mattered.
Ugh.
And I said to myself, this is not how my brother's going to go out. And I'm going to do something to help others that are facing the same challenges and the same hardships, not just the ones suffering from schizophrenia or mental health issues, but the whole support system that suffers from this terrible disease. And that's where we came up with the concept of the John W. Brick Mental Health Foundation, whose mission is to change the way the world treats mental health. And we want to do that by funding and promoting evidence-based research on how healthy lifestyle choices such as exercise, nutrition, and mind-body practices benefit mental health resilience. We believe that we look at mental health as a continuum. And on the one end is a 10, let's call it a 10. It's happiness and it's joy, and it's where hopefully 9s and 10s is where most of us are most of the time. But we move up and in the middle of the continuum, 4s, 5s, and 6s is anxiety and depression and stress-related issues and a general feeling of discomfort, health, mental discomfort.
Yes.
And then at the far end of the spectrum, 1s, 2s, and 3s are clinically diagnosed forms of mental illness, schizophrenia, bipolar, psychosis, and then of course a 1's suicide. We move up and down this continuum based on two things: our physiology, which is, of course, our chemical makeup, the way our mind works, and our psychology, which is really life events, how we're thinking and feeling based on our life events. Right now, I don't think there's a whole lot of 10s going, or people that can honestly say they're 10 based on what's happening. They're probably moved down into 6s, 7s, and 8s. But if you're resilient, you can move back. You can move up. If you're a 5, 6, 4, 5, or 6, and you move down into 2 or 3, maybe you need a little medication to get you back going. But if you have the healthy lifestyle as well, you're just much more resilient. You rely on medication much less. And that's what we're trying to do. We don't look at healthy lifestyle choices as the answer. We look at it as part of the healthcare delivery system to treat mental health. And unfortunately, so many others do not. And that's our mission and our goal.
I'd like to, before we move on, and thank you for sharing.